Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Scully?
Yes?
Marry me.
I love you and I like you.
I love you and I like you.
I love that woman. I love her more than sharks love blood.
I love you.
You know.
You have no idea what it means to have nothing. You don't value what we have achieved. I have had to fight for everything my entire life.
I saw a future. Our future.
We had a future until you started destroying it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 4 of Nerd Nuptial. What you just heard was the audio from the official trailer of House of Cards Season 4. Now, if you've ever been a listener of mine in the past, you probably have a good idea of how much I love House of Cards. But I am not alone in this marriage.
I was going to say, I don't know if you even like it as much as I like it. Because I love House of Cards.
Whoa. So we're going to take off the gloves 30 seconds into this podcast.
Yes.
We're going to start comparing how much
on.
we love it. Okay, so who just read a synopsis on season 3?
My memory is not as good as yours is. Because we've watched season 3 probably 3 times?
Twice.
Okay.
We're starting our third one.
All right, well, you're better at remembering things that you watch on television. I'm not good at that.
Don't mess with the bull if you don't want the horns, is what
Okay,
I'm saying. So let's not compare love with House of Cards. Let's just say we both love it
Well,
immensely.
I've just been really excited to podcast about House of Cards because it is probably my favorite show other than Breaking Bad.
I'm pretty sure this is why you actually agreed to
Probably, because I knew this day was coming. So
That's
why I
right.
agreed.
We are recording this on February 29th, Leap Day, which apparently is a thing now. And we are less than a week away from House of Cards Season 4 dropping. It's going to drop on March 4th. And this episode will drop before then. And you bet your sweet ascot that our next episode is going to be a recap of Season 4. So yeah, I'm really, really excited, and hopefully you guys are too. So if you haven't watched House of Cards yet, I recommend watching as much as you can and then listening to this podcast. But before we do that, we need to address how many awesome reviews we have gotten so far.
It's been really cool.
It's been a blast. Thank you guys so much for writing in and reviewing us on iTunes, giving us 5 stars, because we've gotten so many reviews and so many listens that we are now on the new and noteworthy list on iTunes.
Yay! We made it!
So only after 3 episodes, we've been invited to the new and noteworthy list. iTunes thinks there's something special with us.
Yeah.
And it was because of you guys that we're there.
Thank you.
So thank you. And as we did last in the previous weeks, we talked about if you give us a 5-star review, we're going to mention you on the podcast. Now you can give us any kind of review you want, whether it's 1 star, 4 stars, 3 stars, 5 stars, whatever. But if you give us a 5-star review, that's when we'll mention you. And we have so many people to mention. I'd like to start off. We have some reviews outside of the U.S. And if you do give us a review outside of the U.S., please let me know by emailing us at contact@thenerdparty.com, because we don't see them unless I know, I actually type in your country code in iTunes and change the store. It's a huge pain in the ass. So please email me or find me on Twitter. And so we have 5-star reviews from Lee Hutchison, Brandon Shea Mutala, and Chris Lawrence. So thank you so much to you guys for taking the time and writing us a review. Now in the US store, we have even more. This is insane. We got Matt0207 1989. I wonder who that is. So we thank you for that. Ender Slayer, great name.
Yeah, it is.
Great name. We got M Rushing 02. Again, I wonder who that is. Friends of the network all around. Thank
That's
you guys. RG Henning 28, GeoPilot 55, Emily Reeds, and a very, let's say, interesting review from Kessel Junkie. I didn't quite get it, but we appreciate the 5-star review and your support.
I got it.
You got it? You understood it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as long as one of us understood it. Again, thank you so much. And so everyone, please, if you're hearing my voice and you like our show, please go to iTunes.com and search Nerd Nuptial and write us a review. It takes 5 seconds. You can do it straight from your phone, and we appreciate anything that you can give us.
Yes, please.
Now, on to the good stuff.
Yeah.
Something monumental happened last night.
The Oscars.
That's right, the Oscars. And you and I did not watch it.
No, I don't have the patience to sit through the Oscars.
It started what? Like, we're in the Central Time Zone, so it started at what, 6?
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't over till like 10:30?
Yeah, I just don't have the patience.
I think ever since I joined Twitter, I've had no idea what the point is of watching award shows.
Yeah, and I know that's a big deal for a lot of people, but we just usually check periodically on our phones to see who won, and then we're like, oh, that's cool. That's good.
Like, hey, good for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
And then, we continued. Like, we were watching season 2 of House of Cards.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, every once in a while, we'd pause and take, like, an ice cream break or a bathroom break. And then I'd get out my phone and go to Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. And then, boom, it was there.
I feel like it was time well spent.
I think so, too. Yeah, see, that's the thing is... I just, like I used to watch them religiously as a kid. I was really invested. I was just like, oh man, like,
that's what you do.
My movie has to win. I made a list, I wrote it out, and it has to win.
That's the only way that you'd find out the winners too, was
That's
if
true.
you actually watched the show.
Or you had to wait for the paper the next day.
Right.
Yeah. You
Back
remember
in the
those
day.
days?
Yeah, I
back
remember
in
those days.
That's the only way we got our news. But now we have instant news with the internet. And yeah, I just it's so long, it's so droll, and it's also, I mean, I'm gonna sound like so much of my family, but it's so political,
Well, I'm not really a big, I mean, yes, we love TV, yes, we love movies, but I'm not really a big celebrity person.
Yes.
Even as a kid, when that was a thing where, you put up posters on your walls or something like that of different celebrities, that was never a thing that I would do. I'm not really a big celebrity person. Like, I respect certain actors, but I don't know if I would really be, like, so giddy to, like, meet somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that type of person.
You respect the craft more than you do the fame.
I do. And I don't really care about people's personal lives. I just care about the products that they make and their craft. So... I mean, that sounds kind of pretentious, but
no, I don't think it's pretentious at all. I mean, I think it's accurate with how we perceive it because, I mean, I don't give a crap about how crazy Tom Cruise in his life. All I want to do is see him run away from shit. That's all I want to see.
He does it so well.
He does it amazingly well.
Yeah, I don't really care. I mean, I feel like some of our friends do care, and like, they'll be like, oh, or our family members will care, and they'll be like, oh, but they did this, and I'm like, don't really care. That was a good movie.
He dumped, Jennifer Aniston, so I don't really want to see him anymore. I was like, well, he was in Fight Club, so I'm sorry, that's enough for me.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I am the same exact way. Even when I was a kid and I had posters on my wall, like even when you talked about that in a previous episode, it wasn't like I had a Sarah Michelle Gellar poster on my wall. No, I had a Buffy poster on my wall.
Right. It was more about the show versus, the particular, I don't know, celebrity.
Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't have an Alyssa Milano poster.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Charmed poster.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have a David Boreanaz poster. It was an Angel poster, Although I did have the Spice Girls on my wall for a little bit.
I was going to say, and I had Harrison Ford cut out, so.
So those are little smudges of history right there.
It's true.
But I say, let's just go through them real quick. Let's for those of you who are living under a rock or who didn't look it up, let's just go through them real quick. So we had a best writing for original screenplay. Winner was Spotlight. Best writing for adapted screenplay, The Big Short. Best visual effects, Ex Machina. Best sound mixing, Fury Road. Best sound editing, Fury Road. Best short film, Who Cares? Production design, Fury Road. Music original song, Writings on the Wall from Spectre. Yeah, that one. Original score, The Hateful Eight. Makeup and hairstyling, Fury Road. Foreign language film, Who Cares? Film editing, Fury Road. Short doc, Don't Care. Documentary feature, Amy. Directing, The Revenant. Costume design, Fury Road. Cinematography, The Revenant. Animated feature film, Inside Out. Actress in a supporting role, Alicia Vikander for The Danish Girl. Actor in a supporting role, Mark Rylance for Bridge of Spies. Actress in a leading role, Brie Larson from The Room. Actor in a leading role, Leonardo DiCaprio, The Revenant. And winner of Best Picture is Spotlight. So, long list. A lot of Fury Road.
Yeah, I enjoyed that movie a lot. I really loved how it was a surprise feminist movie. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I think it took a lot of things, though, for what it was.
It took a lot of technical awards.
Yeah, it did.
It took, sound design, sound editing,
right.
Mixing, whatever, production design, makeup design, so everybody, I think, loved the makeup of the film, but there wasn't a lot in acting that it took away.
Okay.
And I'm okay with that. Now, the one thing about Fury Road, and I know that people are going to argue with me. I know that people are going to disagree with me because people online who criticize Fury Road, it's kind of like in 2008 when people criticized The Dark Knight. It just wasn't done. Like, people did not criticize The Dark Knight. Otherwise, you'd get crucified online.
All right.
And with Fury Road, I thought this was, out of all of the pictures nominated, I thought this was one of the worst edited films. And it won Best Editing. And I look very hard at editing because I was an editor for over a decade. And I love editing and I love the craft. And with this one, as I was watching it, I thought I needed to get my eyes checked because this editor, who is George, the director's wife, and this was her first action film. And I didn't know this while I was watching it, but she messed with the frame rate. She messed with the speed. She had stutter edits. And the whole style was very just off kilter. And I think it's the frame rate that really bothered me. It's just like, that's what made my eyes go buggy. I was just like, what is wrong with the film? And out of all the pictures that we've watched from 2015, that was the only movie that I had that reaction to. I was like, oh, is this on purpose? What's going on? This is horrible. And it won Best Editing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think it bothered me as much as it bothered you, just because I think that's what you're looking for. But I understand. And I do remember like the kind of jarring way that it was edited. But I think it probably did fit the style, but I don't know if it deserves Best Picture for editing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Was there anything else that kind of surprised you? Was there anything on that list that I just read to you that
I was surprised with Spotlight? Actually,
I think a lot of people were
winning Best Picture because I really thought it was be The Revenant because we watched both of them and I thought Spotlight was a really solid movie and I remember after we watched it, I was like that was a really solid film, but I don't know if it'll be memorable if you think about it. Like I don't know if I'm going to remember that one as being like, oh yeah, in 2016 that one. Yeah. Whereas Revenant like made an impression on me. I thought Spotlight had a lot of really good performances and it was a solid storytelling, great screenplay. So I totally think that it should have gotten Best Screenplay. But when I think about a movie that really impacted me this year, I think The Revenant, I'll remember it more.
See, I would have rather have seen Spotlight taken all of the acting awards and Revenant take Best Picture.
I got you.
Because I feel like the acting in Spotlight was a lot better than the acting in Revenant.
Yeah.
But I thought overall Revenant was a better picture. I thought it was better technically, and I thought it was better as a whole.
Beautiful.
It was beautiful. And it won Best Cinematography, thankfully. And Emmanuel Lubezki, he's one of my favorite cinematographers of all time. Now he's a 3-time Oscar winner for cinematography, and he's now Terrence Malick's cinematographer.
That's
so
awesome.
You know that he holds a special place in my heart. So Absolutely. I was really happy that he won because I believe that the director of Revenant deserved to win, and I believe that the cinematography should have won because those were the best things about the Revenant.
Right.
But yeah, I was surprised by Spotlight too. But when it was announced that it won Best Original Screenplay, a lot of people are like, "Oh, okay, that might actually win Best Picture." They
realized that it was going to take more than it was anticipated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed both. We tried to get through as many Oscar films as we possibly could, and those two we definitely saw, so that was helpful. I think with Leo DiCaprio winning, I think that he deserved it, but I think it was more for his body of work than necessarily for The Revenant. Because I remember after coming out of the theater from The Revenant, I was like, well, he got really beat up and he had to go through quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that, I don't know. I liked him better in other films I've seen. Like Departed. I really liked him in that. I really liked him in Gangs of New York as well. I loved him in, I think the two that I always go back to are Departed and Gangs of New York.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking about his acting talent. I think that he deserved it, especially with the list that was given. I kind of was like, well, he should get it. Otherwise, that's completely like him being snubbed.
Yeah, I remember talking about this with Hanson about, because he said, he's like, oh, Leo's going to win. And the rest of the world was like, this is his time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I think you're right. But, I said the same things that you did. I've liked him in other stuff more. And, I don't know. He just, like you said, he just got beat up. I didn't see that much dramatic acting chops in Revenant. Maybe I'm wrong. But when you look at the rest, you have Bryan Cranston for Trumbo, Matt Damon for The Martian, Fassbender for Steve Jobs, and Eddie Redmayne for The Danish Girl. I haven't seen Trumbo, but this got nowhere near as much buzz as all the other ones. There's no way in hell that Matt Damon was going to win for The Martian.
I loved that movie, but
loved him. Loved
it
The
wasn't
Martian.
Oscar worthy.
No, it's not Oscar worthy. And Fassbender and Steve Jobs.
I didn't really like it.
Steve Jobs was okay. I thought it was a good movie, but it did not wow me in the least.
Yeah.
Fassbender changed his voice. That's about all he did for the movie.
But that doesn't mean that you should get the Oscar.
No, but if he changed his appearance, like if he had a prosthetic nose.
That's true.
That Oscar would have been his.
You're right.
Yeah. And Eddie Redmayne, I haven't seen The Danish Girl, but I think he won last year.
So they kind of didn't want to give it to him again.
Yeah, probably. That's probably what I'm feeling. So that leaves Leonardo DiCaprio. And so now that godforsaken meme online will die.
I know, you were so excited. You were excited for that probably more than for him getting the Oscar.
Yes.
But that meme would die.
Just because I want the internet to shut up about it. Yes, Leo got his Oscar. You can calm down now. Well, I think that's about it. This was pretty tepid. This was not too many surprises. Everybody was so happy that Fury Road, got so many that it did, and I'm glad that it got the ones that it did. Obviously not for editing because of what I just said.
Right.
And I think we've done our best this season for watching Best Picture, but we are shy on 2.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Room or Brooklyn. Room scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, we watched the preview for it and we're like, I don't know if I can do this.
Looks terrifying.
It does. So I think that's why we stayed away from it as long as we have.
Deeply unsettling.
Yeah.
But I think eventually we'll get to it. And everybody has nothing but good things to say about Brooklyn. Even though it doesn't really look like it's our kind of movie, I think we'll be able to watch it just because, so many people are talking about it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, enough of gilding the lily. Let's get into the main event, and that is House of Cards. Now, I think we need to tell the people what House of Cards truly means to us.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
The
love
yeah,
goes deep.
We have a deep emotional connection with House of Cards, probably borderline unhealthy.
Probably.
Now, in previous episodes, we did talk about how obsessed we were with Sweeney Todd and with Angela Lansbury as Mrs. Lovett, and how we have framed photos of Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter and Angela Lansbury signed.
In our bedroom. Which is awesome.
Which I agree.
We highly recommend.
It's completely awesome. Now, if you go into our hallway, we have an art piece made by M. Spencer. You can find him at mspencerillustrations@tumblr.com. That's actually where I contacted him because I found his piece on Tumblr. I emailed him. I said, I need this in my home. Can you please make me a print? And
it's the picture of the two of them at the windowsill smoking.
Yes.
And those are our favorite moments in the show, I think.
I think those are some of the best moments in the show because it's pure Frank, it's pure Claire, and it's just the two of them together. No outside influences, no other noise. It's just the two of them. That's their alone time.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and it's really well done. You guys should check it out. I'll put it on the website.
Yeah.
And you should check out his illustrations. They're fantastic. And this piece, I'm so happy that we have this piece hanging on our wall.
Yeah, every time I pass our hallway, I smile.
No,
it's awesome.
That's not the only framed Kevin Spacey art that we have
So
in our house, we have him dressed as Richard III
Yeah.
in our office because he did a tour of Richard III before he did House of Cards.
Right. And we watched the documentary on that. I think it's called Now.
Yeah, it's called Now. Search Kevin Spacey and Now. And I think it was produced by Kevin Spacey. And it's sold by Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, it's
So
awesome.
You can go to his website and figure it out. It's great for theater lovers, and it's great for Kevin Spacey lovers. And the show was directed by Sam Mendes, the guy who did American Beauty and Skyfall and Spectre.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
it's a really great behind the scenes look of everything that it takes to be a part of a traveling show.
Yeah, I want to show it to my acting classes because I think it'll be really helpful to kind of see the inside scoop on what it's like to travel with a company.
Yeah, absolutely. And see if these kids actually do want to do this.
Right, yeah.
Although they show a very glamorous...
That's true.
Because they're not just traveling with a show, they're traveling with Kevin Spacey.
Right, so they like are on yachts.
Like, who takes them on his yacht and
Yeah.
and, like buys them fancy dinner.
It would be
and
pretty cool.
it would be pretty sweet. I'm not knocking it at all in the least. But yeah, you guys should check that out. And it's funny because when Fincher actually approached Kevin Spacey about House of Cards, he said, "We want you to be in this, this show called House of Cards." And Kevin's like, "Well, I can't right now because I'm in a traveling show." And he's like, "Well, it's really funny that you're in this traveling show for Richard III because a lot of the themes that are in House of Cards draw from Richard
Absolutely.
III and Macbeth." And
You said it.
well, I can say it, you can't say
It's
it.
true. I call it the Scottish play right now because I'm in production mode and
And you're superstitious.
I'm superstitious. That's like one of the things I hold dear is the superstition about the Scottish play.
Now, what's going to happen when we need to watch the Fassbender version when it finally comes out?
I'll just call it the Scottish play.
You just put
Yeah.
in the Scottish play.
That's right.
All right.
I do love that dynamic though with Claire and Frank kind of playing those. I'll say it, Lady Macbeth and Macbeth. I really like that.
Yeah, I think it definitely has that dynamic. If you haven't read the play or if you haven't seen the play, go see it, go watch it, especially if you're a House of Cards fan, because you will see a lot of parallels from Macbeth as well as Richard III.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one thing that we really love about House of Cards is because of how Shakespearean it is, because it's very much a hyper reality of political Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Like, they get way more done in House of Cards than D.C. has ever done.
That's true. Yeah, I love the talking to the audience that Frank does. The moment he started doing that, he had me as Frank Underwood, where he talks to the camera and we're a part of that world, brings us into that world. An aside, kind of a Shakespearean aside, where he talks to us. I love that.
Yeah, I think it was a response to, because it draws so much from Shakespeare. You have soliloquies in Shakespeare where the actors are just talking to the audience. Well, how are you supposed to do that on film? And we've seen tons and tons of Shakespeare movies, of course. Sometimes they look at the camera, like in
Breaking the fourth wall.
They break the fourth wall, like in Kenneth Branagh in Othello. But Kenneth Branagh in Hamlet, he doesn't break the fourth wall. It's just him talking to himself.
Right.
That's kind of the line that you have to cross or walk, because in a lot of novels, it all takes place in people's heads. So how do you translate on that on film? Some people do voiceover. Some people just ignore it and you just have to guess. But some people break the fourth wall. Not very many people break the fourth wall. And so I think
a bold
House of
choice.
Cards does
Yeah.
it great.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I eat that stuff up. Whenever he talks to us, I just he's talking to us.
Now, we have to come clean to the audience, girl, about our DC trip.
It's true. Well, you had never been to DC.
No.
So you'd always wanted to go. But I think the thing that kind of pushed us to actually go was to see some of the sites that are in the opening sequence of House of Cards, which is maybe a little silly, but we really nerded out, going to the different places that were in the opening sequence.
Yeah, there are moments in that sequence. They're so iconic of DC, but they're shot so uniquely.
Yeah.
Because we all see, the backdrop of DC all the time, whether it's Independence Day or whether it's like the West Wing. We see that all the time in fiction, but this was uniquely done because it's all time-lapse footage. And so the weather's going by real fast and the cars are going by real fast, but they did something really cool where they actually digitally removed all the people. So it's a vacant landscape of DC in time lapse that just gives it such a very creative, unique feel.
Yeah, we learned that in the director commentary because we've watched that many times, actually.
Yeah, we're suckers for director's commentaries.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if there's I think we've listened to every single David Fincher commentary that
He's
there
really
is.
good at it.
He's one of the best. Like, he and Ridley Scott, I think, are fantastic with commentary.
Yeah, because sometimes when you listen to a commentary, it's like they're just describing the scene, and you're like,
Yeah.
but I've seen this movie, and I understand what's going on in the scene. Whereas I love the inside information about, like, telling us different tactics that they used or talking about a certain thing that happened during that's what commentary should be.
Right. And there's a commentary for the first and second episode of House of Cards in the first season with David Fincher, and it's only available on Netflix. We own the Blu-rays because that's how big of geeks we are with House of Cards, is that we pay for Netflix and we have access to Netflix, but we're like, no, we need the
To
Blu-rays.
own them, yeah.
We need to own them. They need to be on our
We
shelves.
love them that much.
And they don't have the commentaries on the Blu-ray.
No, it's so disappointing.
There is no extra value in the Blu-rays whatsoever.
It's true.
Except those...
Our nerd cred.
Except our nerd cred, and I mean, Netflix still can't compete with Blu-ray. It's just there's that just a little bit of added depth. Now, with season 1, there was clear differences between seasons 1, 2, and 3. Season 1 was he started in Congress and rose to VP. In season 2, he went from VP and kicked out the president and became the president. And in season 3, it's all about him trying to get reelected so he stays the president. Now, was there a season that you liked more than the other?
It probably goes in order for me, 1, 2, 3. And I think that season 1 was definitely my favorite, especially now that we rewatch them. Season 1 really, I feel like, has the more enjoyable story arc that I like to watch. But there are a lot of moments in season 2 that I really enjoy to watch because there's a lot of big moments that happen in season 2 that I enjoy. Season 3, we were a little disappointed with season 3, I think.
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of characters going on that we didn't care about. There was a lot of storylines that were kind of boring. I felt the writing was lackluster in season 3, and I felt like we just spent way too much time on things that just didn't matter.
Yeah.
And also, spoiler alert, guys, but you shouldn't be listening to this if you haven't seen House of Cards anyway. Season 3 resulted in the breakup of Claire and Frank, which was our favorite part of the show.
It's true.
They're literally hanging on our wall right now, together.
It's true. Yeah. I love the moments in seasons. Well, actually, I mean, I guess in all 3 seasons, they have these moments where they're scheming together, planning together. She's supporting him. He's supporting her. And even the moments when they're at odds, it's interesting to watch. But you always know that they're going to come back together or that they love each other no matter what, even though these, they might have screwed each other over. But with season 3, the ending, it was pretty final, I feel. Or at least if it's not final, then it almost kind of goes back on this idea. It kind of reminds me of the My Fair Lady moment of her going back and, coming back to him. So, in this original stage play of the My Fair Lady story with Pygmalion, this idea is that she leaves and does not come back and does not look backward. To have House of Cards, you have to have them back together. So I'm wondering if she'll come back to him and be like, I'm sorry, or he'll be, I'm sorry. I don't know.
There was a theme running throughout the show that their marriage, there was a rumor that their marriage was much more calculated than that they let on. I mean, it was clear to the audience that Frank and Claire loved each other deeply.
Well, we love that quote. I love this woman more than sharks love blood.
Yeah, it's in our intro music.
Yeah,
and they proved it in season 1, and then in season 2 they started asking, like, people started asking questions like, is this just a marriage of convenience? Is this just a political marriage? Is there no love? And they, of course, denied it because we know it was true. But then in season 3, they started introducing these things where we revealed the engagement story. And then we revealed that Claire had doubts and then said, okay, I'll give it 7 years. If we're good, then I'll give you another 7 years.
Yeah.
And that just felt very awkward and different from what we got in season 1 and season 2.
It didn't
And-
feel like the same couple. Like, I don't feel like that same couple from season 1 would have been having that conversation.
Absolutely not. I feel like they fell in love with each other's minds and their beautiful, flawed, and devious minds. In season 4, I feel like it might be in order to bring her back into the fold, I feel like it might be a self-fulfilling prophecy of they're just going to have a political marriage, and I don't really want to see that.
I know, that would make me really sad because I love those moments when you can tell that they care about each other.
Yeah.
And so if we get rid of that, then I kind of feel like the appeal is gone.
Yeah, what's the point? I mean, if there's no reconciliation, I understand that there has to be drama. I understand that there has to be friction, and we saw that in season 1 and season 2, but they always came back together. And in season 3, they did come back together, and they even renewed their vows, but then boom, just complete 180 after that. We're just like, what was that whole journey for?
Yeah, exactly. Why did we go through all this stuff if it was for no point? I know that you read a fan theory or saw something that kind of alluded to her being possibly on the ticket.
Well, okay, here's the thing. There was a scene released, and Kevin Spacey released this online, and so I'm not ruining anything for anybody. Like, it's out there for the world to see. But there's a scene where Frank and Claire are sitting down, and Claire is talking with Frank saying, think of all that we've done together. Think of all the campaigns that we've won. You can't do this without me. And there's no way that the Democrats will want Donald Blythe on the ticket. You will not be able to win without me. And that's the end of the scene. And so it can be taken in different ways, a couple different ways, where is she saying, you got to invite me back into your inner circle? And I want to stay in the White House. And so that, like, it could be, I want to stay in the White House. And so that's why I'm going to help you win, even though I hate you right now.
Right.
Or she could try to say, I want to be your VP, which I think is nonsense.
Yeah, I think that's weird because she has her own political goals, which we found out in season 3. And I really liked how that was revealed in season 3, how we didn't necessarily know. We know that she had goals to be significant, as she put it, and political goals of her own, but we didn't really understand to the extent of what type of political goals that Claire had until season 3. And I really enjoyed that because it was like we were learning it throughout the process. But for her to be on his ticket, first of all, how would that work?
She doesn't have enough political experience.
No. And I hate that they made her fail as ambassador to the United Nations. That really bothered me.
Well, it wasn't so much failure as it was
she
extortion
was
to get her to quit.
I know, but
she didn't succeed.
She didn't succeed, and she also probably should not have been in that position to begin with, because of the nepotism and everything like that. It just felt like we're kind of wasting her power, whereas when she was in charge of the Clean Water Initiative, I really felt like she was a powerful woman in charge of her own destiny. She could kick Frank out of her office if she wanted to, whereas all of season 3, I kind of felt like she was constantly asking for things from Frank. And that's probably what led to her leaving she
even said that.
Right, and she was like, I'm done with this. I just feel like I want to see Claire back in control of her own destiny. Yes, I do want to see Frank and Claire together, but I think I would rather see Claire in control again.
I think if you watch the trailer for season 4, which you heard at the beginning of this episode, they definitely, with the visuals that they show, and especially the ending image is Frank in the woods, walking out of the woods and seeing a limousine with the door open, and we see Claire's legs, just her legs in the door.
Yeah, I love that moment.
And House of Cards loves its metaphors.
True.
True. And
actually, even in season 3, we were a little like, this is a little on the nose. For example, the moment where she actually cracks eggs. Yeah, she cracks eggs to you can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs, and she literally does that. And we just rolled our eyes at that.
Frank literally spits in the face of God by spitting on a statue of Jesus.
Yeah.
And
he
literally pisses on his father's grave. We're just like, okay, we get it. You think you're clever because you're making the figurative become the literal. Okay, I get it. But I feel like in this last shot of season 4 trailer, they're kind of doing that again, where it's like he's coming through the woods, he's into the clearing, and then there's Claire. So
yeah.
I feel like that's going to be his journey. He's going to have to go through the wilderness, and once he comes out to the other side, he realizes, Claire.
You need Claire.
I can't do this without Claire.
Right. Well, and in season 3, and even in season 2, they talked about how the greatest appeal of Frank Underwood is Claire and Frank together, you know, whether they were campaigning or whatnot, you know, like the old tapes of them from their first campaign or whatever. It's them that you're buying if you're buying Frank. So I don't know. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm excited. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. I think we have nothing but possibilities with season 4. This is the best time to be a House of Cards fan because it's nothing but possibilities and anticipation.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully it's better than season 3. But there are still moments in season 3 that we enjoy because we love those characters so much.
Exactly.
So I'm hoping that they don't ruin the characters.
I don't know. Except for the anger pee.
The anger pee. I loved that moment in season 3. That is such an awesome moment.
That was so awkward. Whenever I think about season 3, I think about Claire anger peeing in front of the other diplomat.
It wasn't an anger pee. It was a power pee.
A power pee. Sorry.
For those of you who don't remember, she was at the UN.
Yeah.
And she invited a male delegate into
into
the female bathroom. She's doing her makeup, and he's awkward. He doesn't want to be in there. She's like, no, it's okay, it's okay. And she's doing her makeup, and then she's like, just 1 second. And she goes into a stall, drops her underwear, and then continues to talk to him while she's peeing. He's completely uncomfortable, but she took control of the situation.
Yeah.
And by making him uncomfortable, by showing him that she is not uncomfortable.
Right.
And I thought it was hilarious and awesome at the same time.
It was so awkward.
You were just like, ew, no.
Yeah, I was like, she's peeing.
The power pee.
I don't want to see Claire pee. It was so funny.
There was another moment that you did not like that was very awkward in your mind that I liked way more than you, and I've never really admitted that I've liked, and that's the threechum.
You like the threechum?
I love the threechum. I think it's hilarious.
You think it's hilarious?
I think it's
I don't think it was
awesome.
meant to be hilarious.
Well, no, I mean, hilarious and... Okay, so for those of you who don't know what a threechum is, it's kind of a fan word for the beginning of a threesome scene between Frank, Claire, and their security guard, Meacham, Edward Meacham. And they built up to it. I think that's the thing.
They did.
They showed you a progression of how this was going to happen.
And I remember when in season 2, when we were watching season 2, we could see them building up to this moment, but we didn't know what was going to happen to Meacham. We were like, is he going to die? Are they going to kill Meacham? But no, they were with Meacham.
No, I said two things. I said they're either going to kill Meacham.
Yep.
Or they're going to screw Meacham.
Yep, it's kiss or kill.
It's kiss or kill. It's one of those situations. But I had no idea that it would be all three of them at the same time.
Yeah, that was
craziness.
That was a little crazy.
We lost it when we watched it. We're like, what? No!
What's happening?
That's amazing.
What's happening?
Oh, that was me internally. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, you didn't actually say that because I didn't know that until now that you liked the threechum.
I don't know what this says about me. No, I just, in this context, it was just weird because, we've talked about this before, at least personally, about they have an open marriage. Mm-hmm. And that's what was leading up to it because they saw that explored in season 1. And they talked about how they couldn't in season 2 because they're the VP and
they're out there.
And his wife. And so they were much more in the public than when he was as a congressman. And at full security detail. And so they can't just invite somebody over to sleep with because if the word gets out that it's like, oh, he's cheating on his wife, but not really because we have an open marriage. That's not going to fly with the American public.
Right.
And so they're like, well...
So Meacham was their option.
I guess we'll sleep with our security guard. He's sworn to secrecy.
It's funny because I feel like when I tell people that I absolutely love Claire and Frank together, I think that they immediately think about their open marriage because they're always like, really? You like Claire and Frank? And I'm like, I love Claire and Frank together. And they're like, but they have, I don't know, they, are they really good to each other? And
no.
I was like, well, no, but I love watching that dynamic. I love the power couple. I adore that.
It's flawed, but beautiful.
Yes.
And no, they don't always treat each other well.
No.
I wouldn't even say that they have a good relationship, but they love each other.
Right.
At least up until season 3.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that like we love to see a couple love each other, even if they're horrible to each other. They cause each other pain. It's still like there was a scene with Adam Galloway, which was a person that Claire had an affair with, but Frank knew about. There was a scene where the three of them were in a room and Adam started just screaming at Claire.
I love that moment.
And then he stopped her and said, "You do not talk to my wife that way. You have no idea what our marriage actually is and how much of a minor blip you are on the radar."
And
then,
you could see her just like looking and like being turned on by Frank saying that to her former lover, which was just awesome.
Yeah.
And you're just like, for us, we were just watching and being like, yes, that's Frank and Claire.
While we were in DC, one thing we didn't talk about is not only did we go to DC and take tons and tons of pictures of our favorite monuments, we went to the Smithsonian, we saw tons of art, and it was just amazing, but we also recreated certain moments from the show and took pictures of that.
Yeah, especially at the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Memorial. We found the bench that in season 3 Frank sits on, and he can see on one side Eleanor and the other side Franklin. And I made you sit there and I took your picture, and we love that picture. Probably a little too much.
Yeah, it's just so much. Loved it so much. And I also love that moment because, speaking of Frank and Claire, like, he went to pay his respects at the memorial, and then when he comes back home, he talks with Claire, and he's like, "Do you know what struck me? Is that they're forever immortalized in this memorial, but they're not together.
Yeah.
They're not standing together. They're not sitting together. They're in separate parts of the memorial."
Very powerful.
It was a very powerful statement and a very powerful image. And Frank said, "I don't want that with you," in so many words.
Right.
And also, Eleanor was an ambassador to the UN.
Yeah.
And so was Claire. And so there was just
a lot of similarities.
And it's funny because, Roosevelt came up with the New Deal, and Frank is trying to get rid of the New Deal by getting rid of entitlements. And so, in season 1 and 2, we had Richard III and Macbeth. Now we have real life comparisons with the Roosevelts. But this one ended, at least of what we know so far, this one ended not like the Roosevelts.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love their dynamic. It's funny because I don't love all of House of Cards.
No.
Even though I love House of Cards so much, and I would call it one of my favorite shows, and I think I've even mentioned that before. Breaking Bad and House of Cards are the two that I love the most. Whenever I think about House of Cards, there's a lot of side plots that I really don't care about, and actually when we don't do our hardcore rewatch of House of Cards, where we watch every single episode, every single moment, we will sometimes skip certain scenes just because I just don't care about certain side characters.
I think that just shows the power of the show because ultimately, yeah, would we love to love 100% of it? Of course.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we love the stuff we love so much more than other shows that we're able to ignore or forgive the storylines we don't care about.
It's true. And I hate it when people almost criticize you for not liking everything.
Yes.
Because we like a lot of, and what we love very intensely. But that doesn't mean that everything's perfect.
Right.
So when we criticize it or we dissect it, we're just kind of showing how much we do love it because we thought about it a lot.
It's kind of like the attitude that Shar and I have on To the Journey, my Star Trek Voyager podcast. Voyager is an incredibly flawed show. Not a lot of people like it. I mean, compared to like Next Generation or Deep Space Nine or anything like that. It's a very flawed show. There's a lot that I don't like about it, but I love the show. I do a podcast about it.
I was going to say.
And so I hate it when people can't separate those two things. Like, it's okay not to think, like, if you like a movie, it doesn't mean it's perfect.
Right.
You can like something and criticize it at the same time.
Absolutely. A lot of people love the Peter Russo storyline in season 1. I did not really like that storyline. I liked him as an actor playing that role, but I didn't really care about his kids or the Christina storyline. I do love the Zoe storyline, but I don't think I at first liked the Zoe storyline when I watched season 1 for the first time.
No, she's a character that definitely grows on you, and Kate Mara is an actress that grows on you as well.
I agree.
She's one of those personalities where you're just like, do I like her? Do I not? And then by the end of like the 3rd episode, you're like, okay, all right, I'm on board with her.
Yeah. Yeah, and I loved towards the end of season 1, the conspiracy, after she had ended her affair with Frank, and she was actually digging into the Kapeniak and the Russo storyline of, his death. I loved Lucas and Janine and Zoe working together. That was really cool.
One thing that I absolutely love about House of Cards marketing or Netflix marketing is they obviously know how to do a trailer right, because if you've ever seen a House of Cards trailer, they're all amazing.
Even the music they use, we love.
They used a Perfect Circle music for season 3.
When I first met you, you were obsessed with a Perfect Circle.
My emo is showing.
I remember when MySpace was a thing.
Oh my gosh, you're really dating us right now.
I know. When I first met you, you had a Perfect Circle on your MySpace page. That was the song that played. It was so jarring. So every time I clicked on your MySpace page, it was like, because it was one of those. I think it was actually.
It was the same
song.
It
was the actual song they used for season 2, right?
No, it was the actual song they used for season 3.
Oh, season 3. That's right. Yeah.
It was Counting Bodies Like Sheep.
That's right, which is so appropriate.
Yeah. And the full title is Counting Bodies Like Sheep to the Rhythm of the War Drum. It's a song that has been used in a few trailers since.
Yeah.
I think
very rhythmic.
There was one, I think Fantastic Four, the first Fantastic Four with Jessica Alba. They had a trailer with that music, and it's an old song, so I was really surprised to hear it in a new age trailer.
It's funny because it's like probably so old now that it's being recycled.
I know. It's like, oh, this is a classic,
That's right.
Perfect Circle. Get out your vinyl and tape decks. Yeah, from the 90s on a CD. It was absolutely amazing. But with the promotional material for season 2, Zoe dies in the first episode of season 2.
Which we did not see coming. I did not.
I saw it coming just because I knew from the British TV show that the reporter did not last long. I knew that she was not around till the end of the show. So I knew that Zoe was going to bite it sometime soon. But I had no idea it was going to happen in the first episode.
Yeah.
Because what happened is that Netflix made promotional material with Kate Mara where she's holding a mic in front of her face. She's in front of a satellite truck. And we're like, oh, she's going to be a news anchor now. She's going to be a TV personality. Yep. That never happened. And that promotional material was plastered all over the place in posters, and she would have interviews about season 2 saying, I had a great time, doing season 2, but she never said it was just one episode.
It's awesome. And even on our Blu-rays, because like we said, we're nerds and we have the Blu-rays, she's actually in the menu. Like there's a scroll of all the characters in season 2, and she's a part of that. And I think it's...
As a TV reporter.
And it's there just to mess with people's heads who have not watched the show, who are watching it for the first time, which I think is just awesome.
It's great. It's dedication. And it reminds me of Scream when Drew Barrymore was the center of attention for the movie. She was in all the promotional material. She had top billing, and everybody's like, oh, this is going to be a Drew Barrymore movie. Boom, she's killed in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they pass it on to Neve Campbell. Oh, that's right, Neve Campbell. Neve Campbell's going to be in season 4.
She is, yeah.
Reels within reels. It's all coming back. A Perfect Circle, Neve Campbell.
That's right. It all comes back.
Call back to the 90s. That's what's happening. I'm looking forward to seeing Neve Campbell. She looks like she's going to be Claire's aide.
That's what it looks like.
Like she's replacing Willa.
Maybe.
Something like that. We're not quite sure. But once a person that we saw in the trailer was Ellen Burstyn.
Yeah.
I think she's going to be Claire's mom.
You think so?
I think so.
She's got the hair.
She's got the hair. She's got the look, that old money look. And Ellen Burstyn is such an amazing actress.
She's awesome.
She was robbed of the Oscar for Requiem for a Dream, and it's
talking about 90s.
I know. I can't let it go. It was made in the 90s, but it was released in 2000. So
okay,
kind of right. But yeah, I think she's going to be Claire's mom, and I think that's going to be very interesting to see a member of Claire's family, because we've heard a lot of stories about Claire's family about where she was
money.
She was raised with money. She was a woman of means, and she was on a ranch. She had horses. It was
prep school,
top
Harvard,
education.
yeah.
And Frank always talks about how he came from nothing. He really likes to talk about how he was poor.
In the trailer, he talks about it too.
That's right. He said he's screaming at what we're assuming is Claire, saying you have no idea what it's like to have nothing, to come from nothing. And I think that's going to be a major theme, and that's probably why they're going to bring in Claire's mom.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
She's going to be a symbol of Claire's privilege.
The old money, where she comes from. Mm-hmm. That would be pretty cool. But we don't know.
We'll have to wait until this weekend.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited too.
I love binge watching House of Cards.
And Netflix, Netflix kind of, I don't want to say they coined that term, but they're the reason why we use that term. And House of Cards is
Was
the
one of the-
reason why.
Absolutely.
Because House of Cards is not the first show on Netflix to be released as a TV show straight for streaming, but it was the most successful and the first streaming show to win awards and get Emmys, and it really put streaming on the map. House of Cards is the genesis of mainstream streaming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's changed the way that we watch TV.
And
especially us.
Yeah, especially us. And I really like how Kevin Spacey will go from event to event. He will champion. He's a champion of Netflix.
That's awesome.
Obviously, he's invested because he's a producer of the show. But he will talk about how people are screaming for stories. They're begging for it. And they don't care where it comes, whether it's on TV, on a movie screen, on their phones, on their laptops. And they often say in interviews, because they ask the streaming question, they're like, the camera I act in front of doesn't know if it's a movie camera or a TV camera or a streaming camera.
I've heard him say that, yeah.
It's just a camera. And so we give 100% every single time. And I think they record 2 episodes at once.
Okay.
And so it's like they do a mini movie every single time. So it's like they're doing 6 movies.
Yeah.
In one season. And it shows. It's a phenomenal show.
Yeah. The quality is amazing. I can't wait. It's going to be such a fun weekend.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. This has been our summary, recap, opinion piece, whatever you want to call it, on House of Cards, as well as the Oscars. We want to know what you think. What was your favorite season of House of Cards? Was it season 1? Was it season 2? Was it season 3? I don't know. I'd be interested to hear people defend season 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would love to.
So please, you can find me on Twitter at @TheInsaneRobin. You can also email us at contact@thenerdparty.com. And please go to thenerdparty.com for all information and news and episodes from all 3 of our shows. We have 2 other shows on the network, one called The Senate Floor, which is a general geek podcast, which I host with Matt Hansen. We also have a Star Wars dedicated podcast called Aggressive Negotiations, and that's hosted by Matt Rushing and John Mills. They are actually up for some awards right now. So everyone, please go to StarWarsPodcastAwards.com and vote for our sister show, Aggressive Negotiations. Well, that's our show, and thank you so much for listening.
I love you.
I know.
You want to know what takes real courage? Holding it all together when the stakes are this high.
We're murderers, Francis.
We're survivors.